Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. We're looking today at a question that has come from a couple of you, and very specifically, the question that we're looking for also came up in previous readings. Are they trying to use the lessons that they learned with you in a different context? So, basically, we're getting the sense here that in some cases, in a lot of cases actually, there's not very much communication here, but there is a lot of learning that's happening. Definitely a lot of learning happening on your part. Also, in a lot of cases, lessons galore happening on their part. Not necessarily as quickly as they're happening on your part, and they may not be in the same place on the learning curve as you are, but there's still a lot happening. And so, a couple of you have asked the question, "Hey, if this person is off entertaining energies of a third party, fourth party, whether it be work or another person that they may be dating, a person within their family that they're putting a lot of attention into, if that's the case, are they taking the lessons that they're learning with you and trying to use those in a different situation?" So that's what we're going to take a look at today. It'll be a general reading as always, and as always, I will say it's not going to apply to everyone. It won't resonate with everyone because it really shouldn't. It is going to be a reading for this collective. So if you find that this is resonating with you, you're probably going to want to take a look at some of the other messages, and then think about maybe even subscribing. So we're going to go ahead and get it off to a start here. We're going to look at the general energy that is kind of surrounding your person today. That's what we're going to look at. So this one focuses on them a little bit. We'll probably focus a little bit more on you as we get into this as well. I have this feeling your energy is probably going to come out because we see the way that we're going to see the way that they're interacting with you. But let's take a look at their energy as it relates to this relationship. So, not specifically to you, but to the relationship. We've got the Queen of Wands. They're feeling like they have turned some kind of corner. So with this Queen of Wands, this is a feeling of it's a little bit of accomplishment, a little bit of having learned something, or maybe feeling like even though maybe they have a lot to learn, they've accomplished something big. They've done something here that they're proud of, and it means that it's going to be a little bit of a kind of a springboard for them to be able to accomplish something different. So that's the kind of energy they have going on right now. So definitely they could be trying to utilize some of the lessons that they've learned, but it could be that they're just wanting to utilize them anywhere that they can. Let's see here. These all want to come in upright. So we've got the Sun card, the Knight of Wands, and the Princess of Swords, which is like the equivalent of the Page of Swords in the traditional tarot. But really the energy that we have here. So we've got the Queen of Wands, which of course, no gender in tarot, even though some of the people on the cards clearly are expressing a gender. This Queen of Wands is that feeling of accomplishment. So it doesn't matter if the person that you're dealing with is a man or a woman. We've got the Sun card here, which is really about, so I mentioned that they feel like they've turned a corner. They have. They've moved into a place that is starting to unlock something for them and moving them in the direction of their happiness. So they may still have a lot of steps that they need to take here, but they have the wherewithal to do it, and it looks like they have, at least in this current energy, the ability to push forward. But it feels to me like that some of that energy comes from the relationship with you specifically. So they draw energy from this, even though a lot of times what you find is that they're trying to remove themselves from it because they're afraid of what's happening. They also are drawing a lot of energy from it. There's a lot of happiness that they remember with you, and it's that sort of happiness that they're chasing again with the Sun card. We've got the Eight of Wands, which reminds me a little bit of the Knight of Wands and the Queen of Wands in its energy. This Eight of Wands is just a lot of communication. You may see communication in this kind of energy, depending on where they want to point this energy. If they choose to point it your direction, you may talk with them, and you may find that even though they are not necessarily healed, they've still got a lot of healing to do. They will seem very positive. They will seem very positive when they talk with you, but you'll still get this edge of still a lot of work to be done. So we've got the Three of Wands in the reverse here, the Two of Wands in the upright, the Eight of Wands in the upright. A lot of fire energy, a lot of wands, a lot of kind of coming at you energy in this. Remember, we just had this moon, okay, and this was a moon, a full moon that was saying it's time to go now. The universe is going to make it worth your while. So there's a feeling like you might be prodded to move forward on something, and that there might be quite a bit coming your way. This is energy that could be coming your way. So we're asking the question today whether your person is trying to use the lessons they learned with you elsewhere. And right now we see energy of them kind of wanting to come your direction, but not really being ready to do so. Now, if they choose to come your direction, we can see that they're not really ready. If they choose not to go your direction and to employ that party toward, or that information and that, the information that they've learned, the lessons that they've been picking up toward that third party, well, that's a whole different story. So we've got the Fool card and the Ace of Swords in the reverse. I do see them working to avoid facing a truth. There's something that's very uncomfortable for them. Yeah, so they do have a lot of drive to come your direction, which we've seen anyway. They're trying to get used to that because there's a lot of this energy of the two of you really just kind of being in each other's proximity energy wise, and it makes them want to move towards you, but they've still got so much fear to do this. It's like they've got to ignore the call in order to do it, and I get the sense some of them aren't going to be able to ignore the call. Definitely a feeling of that, and yet a feeling of not necessarily not being able to get it out of their mind. Like, so there's this darned if you do, darned if you don't kind of situation going on there where and I'm just trying not to swear so I don't get flagged, but you all know what I mean. But there's this sense of, with this Nine of Swords, there's anxiety that has to be worked through, and it's going to crop up one way or another. And so that's something that I feel in this energy. So there's this drive for them to move forward, to do something. They're feeling maybe even prodded by the universe to move forward. And I really feel like a lot of it's that moon energy. It's time to go. They're being supported in doing so, but there's still a lot of fear here that's causing them to try and work against that. I do get the sense that several of your people will probably continue to get in contact. Every day I've been getting communication from people in this collective who are saying, okay, they have finally reached out, but it's like you said, they're not necessarily ready. They haven't done all the healing. We're proceeding very slowly. And that's fine. Slow is fine. It's a matter of making sure that things actually work before you move on. You don't want to settle for something, or even insinuate that you're going to settle for something that's subpar, not with all the work that you've just done for your own self-worth. So let's take a look now and see kind of what the question is that we're asking for today is around what the lessons that they've learned and what they're trying to use. So are they trying to use those lessons that they've learned with you in some other setting, whether it be with this third party that we've seen, or indeed this fourth party that has kind of come up? And I joke, but it's only sort of a joke. It's really sort of the way that energy came up. There was more to it than just a third party. There's more going on between the two of you in your lives that interacts or impacts the two of you than just one other party. So it could be work and a spouse. It could be their mother and their brother. It could be, person that they're dealing with, that they're dating now, and a job situation or a family person. There are a lot of things that could be happening here. There could be, and in some cases, I even get the sense that there's a child involved. I wouldn't say that that is by any stretch universal, but it's come out for me a couple of times. And at first I thought, so is this someone's child, or is it an inner child sort of feeling? Maybe a little bit of both, but I get the sense there's somebody's actually got a physical child in the mix. So there's a Ten of Cups here in the reverse. and a Four of Cups in the upright. Your person is hanging on to, with the Four of Cups, hanging on to something that has served them in the past, and they want to try and use it again in the future, but the cat's out of the bag. It's not going to work. And they know this a little bit from their experiences with you. They're trying to exercise some of the lessons, but they haven't learned the whole thing, or they're just trying to kind of cherry pick and use the parts of the lessons that are convenient for them. So it's not feeling very smooth, and they're feeling like, oh, maybe I didn't really learn what I thought I did, or maybe this wasn't accurate. They're trying to utilize their emotion, but they're discovering that they're not happy with what they've got. So whatever is happening in their life where they're trying to employ these lessons, it's partial. It's not so much that it's super negative. So if it's their job, there may be a toxic component to it. But that's not especially what's coming out right now. What's coming out is that there's something missing for them, but they've got the ability to, under this energy, they've got the ability with this King of Cups to utilize some of their ability to access emotion. And we know that with your person, that has not been an easy thing to do. There's been this kind of halting energy of them being able to move forward. And it has had a lot to do with heartbreak, both current and former. So the current heartbreak that they're experiencing, and indeed the former heartbreak that they're experiencing, they've done a lot to not have to feel it all the time. So they're really good at burying it, putting it in a place that you don't really have to feel it too much, that sort of thing. But it really does a lot to halt their progress, or to stop their progress in its tracks. So again, I see them trying to use what they've learned, like a genuine effort to try and move forward. But a lot of fear still driving them, and an inability to do it because they basically haven't learned the whole lesson. So they know something's missing, but they don't exactly know what it is. This is like a good faith effort to make things right, but it's really not able, they can't make it work. They're even maybe going so far as to try and strong arm it into place, or to say, I'm going to make an effort to control this. So we've got the Emperor card in the reverse, the Two of Cups in reverse. They are trying to engineer some sort of relationship. And it could be it doesn't have to be a romantic one. It could be a relationship with a person that's a partner at work, or it could be their boss. It could be somebody that works for them. I mean, they're trying to engineer some sort of partnership. Feels like it's got political almost underpinnings, but that could be true in a social situation too. And they're trying to use it as something that they're able to control the narrative. So there's a big piece around wanting to control the narrative. Fits in really well with the energy of this King of Cups, because even though the King of Cups is ready to start utilizing some of that emotion and the ability to show love, to give love, it's really feeling pretty limited here. And that's something that often does come in with the King of Cups, often a sense of it being limited. So basically, again, and we have asked this question before. It was a while ago. I think it was long enough ago that we definitely would need to refresh the energy. And so it's a good thing we're doing it today. But I remember a very similar answer coming out. Yes, they're trying to use the lessons they've learned, which is technically a good thing. They should be learning what they use as they move forward in their lives, practicing it, getting it throughout their, all their relationships, making sure that they're, so they're supposed to be learning a little bit about vulnerability. They're supposed to be learning a little bit about themselves. So of course this would have to show up in some of their other relationships, including whatever this third party thing is. So if it's their job, if it's, and we know that there may be more than one. Like I said, we've got a third party and a fourth party in some cases. And, that maybe those two things are related, and in some cases they're really not. But the way that they are interacting with those things is heavily influenced by the interactions they've had with you, as we're seeing here. So, are they, what else about whether or not they're trying to use those lessons? Because we know they're trying to use them. We know it's not going very well. They've got a lot to do here. It's a struggle for them to try and put everything together, but they are, nope, I'm sorry, I don't get to use that one. There it is, though. This is legitimate. The struggle for them to actually be able to utilize the lessons is real, because they haven't picked up all the pieces. And I know I've talked about this before, but sometimes when you learn a lesson, you only learn, you always always learn just part of it at a time. And sometimes trying to be able to employ what you've learned there, you discover, well, there's something really critical that's still missing, that would allow you to be able to use this. And that's the situation that your person finds themselves in. So it's not, they wouldn't know until they try. So I've got to say, I don't feel bad about this. I feel like they have to try and use what they're learning, because if they didn't, it would be like the worst side of this Knight of Pentacles in reverse. It would be like they were exposed to something that should help them and nothing happened, you know. But instead, I see them thinking, maybe they're thinking a little too much. Maybe it's not as rational as they would hope for it to be, but it comes from a good place. They are very much inspired by you. They're very much inspired by what they learned with you. They haven't quite figured out how to put this into play yet, partially because they're not able to look at that full truth. And we see that in the current energy, but that's a recurring theme with them. So this is too, where they are considering you, they're thinking about you as being, they think you have more self-worth than you may think you do. They also may put you a little bit higher than you may realize they do. So you are something very special to them that they're afraid to mess up. And that's one of the reasons that and they feel like they already did. So that's one of the reasons that you may not be seeing as much of this person. They kind of feel like it's egoistically very difficult for them to go into a place where they feel like they've already made a mistake. But you are someone who creates a source of healing for them, and yet constantly is just testing them to see how healed they are. So they have been trying to use what they've learned here, but like we said, it's not been super effective for them, and yet they're still kind of channeling healing from you. So that's interesting. I'm curious to learn a little bit more about this, because I think we want one more card here, but I think when we get into and then of course we're going to do the piece on you, but before when we get into the extended, I think, just to understand a little bit more about what's happening with these lessons, because I see them really trying. I see them, really trying and not necessarily feeling as broken in some ways. So they're still not facing those truths, but there's something about this that is coming from you, and I think it has to do with your energies being so close together. Let's get a little bit of the emotional side from them. I think there's a lot of emotion that's been happening on your side, and in fact, maybe tomorrow we'll even take a look at that and do I think I've got a soulmate snapshot for tomorrow, and what I'd like for us to do is to take a look at all of the high levels of swirling emotion that we've had going on lately, because I feel like that's still happening. And not that your person isn't feeling those emotions. Actually, they're feeling them a little bit more heavily because their energy's practically on top of yours. But I think that they are also injecting their emotions into the mix. So I'd like to get their thoughts on really this and what happens with, how do they feel about that connection with you? Because we can feel like there's still a lot of kind of energy happening, a little bit of feedback. I want us to look at that when we get into the extended and just understand, like, what does that mean? What do you need to know about that? So here's that third party energy again, weighing kind of heavily into it. And again, the Eight of Swords in the reverse, which I wish would be part of this reading, keeps not being part of it. So this Three of Cups, though, it's talking about that third party, which we're going to use the term loosely because we know it could be a third, fourth, fifth, whatever. There could be multiple additional parties out there, but basically it starts to take away some of the focus from what's happening in the energy with you. That's got its ups and downs, but what it means is, yes, to answer the question that came up in my email inbox a couple of times, they are trying to use the lessons that they learned with you in different circumstances. Some of them are trying to use it while dating. Some of them are using it at work. So it's not going to be all the same thing, but it's not super successful for any of them because they've still got so many pieces that they've got to put together. So before we go into the extended and get a little bit more emotion from their side out of this, Well, let's take a look at what you should be focusing on given what we see happening here. This is that part we put into every reading because this collective is really interested, and this is in the messages you send me, it's in your vibe, very interested in understanding your own lessons and what's going to be necessary for your growth. And so I like to make sure that we have this in every reading. So we have the Four of Spheres. Spheres are like pentacles, it's earth energy, and the Nine of Spheres in reverse. Okay, so there's going to be this sense of you not feeling like you can catch up with things, but also a feeling like you're holding on too much to the concept of catching up on things. And it's almost like trying to figure out how to make yourself not feel so busy, but it's like emotionally busy rather than physically busy. So you might be quite physically busy, and it doesn't necessarily impact you in this way. This is something that's actually knocking you off your game. So maybe you're able to handle a really busy job and it doesn't really knock you off your game because you're fine with it. But there's something going on here that is a lot of emotion happening. We know that's not necessarily strange because with that moon, there's a lot that it can now be coming your way, and you may be prodded to kind of move toward it as well. This energy that your person is experiencing over here should be pretty universal. So it doesn't surprise me that you've got something that feels like it's got a little pressure building there. But the equivalent or the situation is really, you want to use the term equivalent because balance comes up so strongly in here. And usually that's more of a Two of Pentacles thing, but it comes up strongly here in this Three of Pentacles. But it's like a three-way balance. There's something, it's like your home, your work, and your personal life is all getting balanced in your mind, even if it doesn't necessarily get balanced in practice. But it's going to be really helpful because some element here is out of control and you're not feeling very good about it. This Nine of Pentacles is coming up reversed to clarify a Nine of Pentacles or a Nine of Spheres in reverse. So that's pretty significant. We also have a Five of Pentacles in the upright and the Hanged Woman, which means hang on tight because there is a lesson that is unveiling itself to you basically right now. And I know you've had so many of these. This one's not so painful, but it does hit those big three. It does impact you in the areas of that fear of rejection, that fear of abandonment, betrayal. It's still going to be impactful there, but it's not necessarily going to be negative. This is an easier lesson to learn, and we've been seeing a few of those come through. So those easier lessons to learn aren't so bad because it's like you take a piece, just like your person needs to do. You take a piece of something that you've already learned and you build on that. And so all of a sudden you're kind of getting yourself to a place where things make more sense and it's more useful. So you'll be able to use it in different settings, which is exactly what your person's having a hard time with now. Okay, so the Seven of Pentacles in the reverse is telling us there's something where you're going to look back and you're going to feel a sense of regret. The reason it's a sense of regret is because you're going to feel like I should have done something. I should have invested in something when I had the thought initially. I should have done it when I had the time. Rest assured, you will have the opportunity again, or an opportunity that is similar enough to it that you should not waste a bunch of time feeling bad about it now. Things are changing for you, and if you put this out here as a manifestation of something you'd like to accomplish, it will come to you. So you've got a couple of things that you need to learn there. Let's see. We need one. There are three cards that popped out here and seem to be maybe even the only ones that want to get used. That was really messy, but it was also felt about right. Okay, so we've got the Eight of Pentacles here, the Two of Pentacles, both of those in reverse, and then the Seven of Swords in the upright. Seven of Swords in the upright is all about, this one comes out as inner child work. So we had an actual child potentially over here, potential inner child work on your person's part over here, definite inner child work on your part. So if you've already engaged in that, keep going on it. If you're not sure how to get started, there are all kinds of neat meditations on YouTube that I have seen people use. And basically, I used one myself, but it was just really, really, I'm highly visual. So I picked one that encouraged a lot of visualizing. So pick one that seems like it matches you. And once you get the process started, you'll kind of just be able to take it from there. So we've got that Two of Pentacles in the reverse that suggests there's going to be an impetus that makes you feel like you need to do this, something that makes you feel like you're a little off balance, or with this Eight of Pentacles, something that feels like you lack a self-mastery that frankly at this point you're getting so much better at building self-mastery, emotional self-mastery, that you're going to just know you can jump in and solve this. And the truth is you can, but it is going to take some doing. You're encouraged, just like you saw in yesterday's reading, to continue with the meditation, with the prayer, with the getting in there and truly understanding what needs to be done. But just like yesterday, you're also getting there are going to be some things in your life that need to be removed. You are encouraged to remove them. Go ahead and be decisive about it. Once you know that's what needs to happen, go ahead and be decisive. Not rude, not mean, but definitely decisive, especially if it involves somebody's emotions. Then you've got the Princess of Wands. This is like a feeling of curiosity, and sometimes it's a really minor card, but in this case, I feel like it's the thing that's kind of going to save you, with the question around the inner child work and the emotional self mastery that you're working towards. So I feel like there is something just in your energy that you are encouraged to cultivate, because it's going to help you to move through this. But these are basically the things that are happening with your energy right now, in places where you can go ahead and focus definitely on this inner child work. Definitely realize that you have a new perspective unfolding for you right now. It's going to help you gradually to be able to use a little bit more of the lessons that you're learning. But then there's still some learning that's coming at you. It's not necessarily, like I was saying, super difficult. This is a little bit more of a pleasant lesson to learn. You may not even realize you're done with it until you're on the other side of it, or that you had a lesson till you get to the other side of it. So we're going to go ahead and get into the extended. If this was you, then please do consider subscribing. Go ahead and take a look at some of the others. You may also want to look at the extended for this one as we get in a little bit deeper to understand what's happening with your person's emotion, particularly as it relates to this relationship and these lessons that they're learning. Just how are they feeling about it? Like if you were able to pull them aside and just say, how's it going? Like you can't necessarily do that and still be in the relationship with them that you are. Your bond makes that very challenging in a lot of ways, although some of you are getting to a place where you're more able to do that. So let's see how your person generally is feeling. That's what we'll do in the extended. The link is down below. Otherwise, for the rest of you, I will see you in tomorrow's reading.